I never thought I'd be the one telling this story. In fact, for years, I told myself it was impossible, even absurd, to find myself in this position. But here I am, sitting in my dimly lit apartment, staring at a stack of documents I was never meant to see, with my heart pounding in my chest. I've always been the type of person who follows the rules, who does things by the book. But that night, that moment, it all shattered. Everything I thought I knew about trust, about love, was suddenly gone, like a rug pulled out from under me. It started with something small, something so minor that I almost missed it. One evening, I came home to find her sitting in the kitchen, her back to me. Normally, she'd greet me with a quick hug, or at least a smile. But not that night. She was facing the counter, her hands pressed flat against the surface, her shoulders hunched as if she was trying to shrink into herself. "Hey," I said, my voice casual, trying not to let my concerns show. "How was your day?" No answer. I stood there, waiting for a response, but all I got was silence. It stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Something was wrong. I could feel it in the air. It wasn't the usual tiredness or stress. It was something deeper, something colder. I cleared my throat. "Is everything all right?" I asked again, stepping closer. She turned slowly, and when she looked at me, I saw a flicker in her eyes, a flash of guilt, fear. I couldn't tell, but it was there. She quickly looked away, like she was afraid I might see right through her. "Yeah," she said quietly, her voice lacking the usual warmth. "Just a lot on my mind." I nodded, not wanting to push too much, but something inside me was buzzing with unease. I couldn't let it go. The rest of the evening went by uneventfully, but it felt wrong. The way she spoke, the way she avoided my gaze, the way the silence between us felt heavier than usual. By the time we went to bed, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced. What was she hiding? Why had she acted like that? And then, it happened. I woke up in the middle of the night to find her gone. At first, I thought I was dreaming. I reached over to her side of the bed, but it was cold. Empty. My eyes darted to the clock, 3:17 a.m. Where was she? My heart began to race, and a strange feeling of dread settled in my chest. I got up, quietly, trying not to wake her, but as I walked through the house, I realized something. There was no sound. No faint rustle of movement, no sign of her. I checked the living room. Nothing. The kitchen. Empty. And then, my mind immediately went to one place, the garage. It had become a kind of strange refuge for her lately, a place she would retreat to whenever something was weighing on her. I stood in the doorway of the garage, my breath shallow. The light was on. She was there, sitting on the floor. She had a folder in her lap, her head lowered. As I watched her, I felt this strange mix of frustration and fear. What was she doing at this hour? Why had she been avoiding me all evening? I stepped forward, the floor creaking under my weight. She didn't notice me at first. It wasn't until I cleared my throat that she looked up. She froze. The look in her eyes was a mixture of surprise and something else I couldn't quite place. Fear? Guilt? A sharp pain shot through my chest, but I didn't say anything. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice quieter than I intended. She swallowed hard and quickly wiped her eyes. "Yeah, I'm fine," she said, standing up abruptly. "Just needed some space. That's all." I didn't say anything. I just watched as she placed the folder back on the workbench, trying to pretend like nothing was out of the ordinary. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. "What's in the folder?" I asked, unable to hold back my curiosity any longer. She froze again, her hand hovering over the folder, as if she was trying to decide whether or not to tell me. After a long, uncomfortable silence, she turned and looked at me. "It's nothing," she said quickly, her voice trembling slightly. "Just some personal stuff. It's not important." But I didn't believe her. Something about the way she reacted made my instincts scream. I wasn't stupid. I knew something was off, and the longer I stood there, the more certain I became that whatever was in that folder, it was a part of a much bigger picture. I wanted to press her, to demand answers, but I didn't. Instead, I left the garage and went back to the bedroom. But as I lay there, wide awake, I kept thinking about that folder. The way she'd clutched it, the way she wouldn't let me see it. And in that moment, I realized something. There was a part of her life, a part of our life together, that I didn't know. A part she was hiding from me. I didn't know what it was yet, but I was going to find out. And I was going to do whatever it took. It wasn't the folder that first made me suspicious, it was the phone call. the one I wasn't supposed to overhear. But, as fate would have it, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. That morning, after the garage incident, everything seemed normal. Lucia acted like nothing had happened. She kissed me goodbye when she left for work, gave me her usual smile, and I told myself I was overthinking things. But deep down, I couldn't shake that nagging feeling. The rest of the day passed slowly. My mind wandered constantly, replaying the scene in the garage, her nervous energy, the way she avoided answering me directly. I had to know what was going on. I had to understand. But how? That evening, I was sitting at the kitchen table, finishing up some work when I heard Lucia's phone ring from the living room. Normally, she wouldn't answer calls on speakerphone in front of me, but this time, she didn't even look at it. The phone kept ringing. Then it stopped. A few seconds later, it rang again. And this time, something changed. I could hear her voice. She was speaking in a low tone, but it was unmistakable. She was talking to someone, but not in the way she spoke to me. There was a soft, almost affectionate tone in her voice. I could make out the words clearly now, despite the distance between us. "Yeah, I miss you too. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this," Lucia said, her voice strained. There was a pause. "No, I'm not telling him. Not yet." I froze. My blood ran cold. The words echoed in my ears, over and over. "I miss you too. I'm not telling him." I couldn't move. I was rooted to the spot, trying to piece together what I had just heard. Who was she talking to? And what was she not telling me? The phone call ended abruptly, and Lucia walked into the kitchen, her face as unreadable as ever. She didn't even notice the tension in the air. I wanted to confront her right there, demand answers, but I couldn't. Something held me back. Maybe it was fear. Fear of the truth. "Hey, what was that about?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, casual even. She glanced at me, then quickly glanced away, her eyes darting to the counter. "Just work stuff?" she said, her voice too quick, too rehearsed. "Work stuff?" I repeated, trying to make it sound believable. That didn't sound like work to me. Lucia laughed nervously. "Oh, come on. It was nothing." She went to the fridge and grabbed a bottle of water, but I could tell she was stalling. "I'm just tired, that's all." But I didn't buy it. Not for a second. It was clear to me now, something was going on. Something far bigger than a few late nights at work or stress from the usual day-to-day life. I was more certain than ever that I wasn't the one she was thinking about in that moment. The rest of the evening was a blur. I tried to act normal, to pretend like everything was fine, but every part of me was screaming for answers. I had to know. Later that night, when we went to bed, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing. I kept hearing those words in my head. "I miss you too. I'm not telling him." I lay there in the dark, listening to her steady breathing beside me, and I realized something. This wasn't just a small problem I could ignore. No, this was bigger. This was a betrayal, whether it was physical or emotional, and I couldn't let it slide. At 3 a.m., unable to sleep any longer, I quietly slipped out of bed. I knew she kept her phone on the nightstand next to her, and I wasn't proud of what I was about to do. But I had to. I had to find out the truth. I reached for her phone slowly, carefully, as though I was a thief in the night. My fingers shook as I unlocked the screen. It wasn't the first time I'd done something like this, but the weight of the situation made it feel different. The first thing I saw was a message notification from an unsaved number. It was brief, just a couple of lines. My heart pounded as I read it. "I can't stop thinking about you. When can I see you again? I miss you." I felt a cold sweat break out across my forehead. The words burned into my mind, and I couldn't look away. It wasn't a work colleague. It wasn't just a casual friend. This was something else. Someone else. My hand clenched around the phone as I read through more messages. There were dozens of them, spread out over the past few months. Casual at first, but as the weeks went on, they became more frequent, more intimate. "I miss you. I can't wait to be with you." And something that made my stomach drop. "I'm so sorry for lying to him." I couldn't breathe. The room felt suffocating. I knew what I was looking at now. She was having an affair. A part of me didn't want to believe it, didn't want to accept it. But the evidence was undeniable. The phone slipped from my hands and fell onto the bed with a soft thud. I stared at it, barely able to comprehend what I had just discovered. The woman I had loved for years, the one I thought I knew better than anyone, had been living a lie. And she wasn't sorry. She hadn't even had the decency to feel guilty. I didn't know what to do. Anger surged through me, But so did something else, a feeling of defeat. I couldn't confront her yet. Not now. Not until I had everything I needed. But I swore to myself that I would. I would find out who this person was. I would dig deeper, no matter how painful it was. And then, when I had the answers, I would confront her. I would make sure she couldn't lie her way out of this. Because I knew something now. I couldn't live in the dark any longer. The truth had to come to light, no matter how ugly it was. The next day, I couldn't get the messages out of my head. I had never felt more trapped, more unsure of what to do. The evidence was right in front of me, but I couldn't confront her just yet. Something about it felt incomplete. I needed to understand the full scope of it all, to see the bigger picture. But how? I couldn't just ask her. Not without risking everything. The trust we had, the years we spent together, all of it would come crashing down if I did. I went to work, but I couldn't focus. Every minute felt like an eternity. My mind kept drifting back to that phone. The messages, the undeniable proof that something was going on. And there was a nagging question in the back of my mind. Who was this person? It wasn't just the fact that she was hiding something from me that bothered me. It was the secrecy. The way she had been acting differently for weeks, and I hadn't noticed. She had been slipping away, inch by inch, and I hadn't seen it until it was too late. She was playing a game I wasn't a part of, and I wasn't sure if I could win it. After work, I decided to stop by the coffee shop she always frequented. She didn't know I knew about it. She often talked about her meetings there, but she never said with whom. I figured if I could catch a glimpse of her with whoever she was seeing, I might get the clarity I needed. I sat at a corner table, pretending to read, but my eyes were glued to the door. My heart raced every time someone walked in, expecting to see her. And then, as if fate was mocking me, she walked in with a man. They were laughing. She looked happy, too happy. He had his arm around her waist, and there was no mistaking the way they were looking at each other. It was obvious now. This was no friendly meeting. This was a full-on affair. I couldn't take my eyes off them. Every little gesture they made, every smile, every laugh felt like a knife in my chest. My breath hitched, but I couldn't move. I couldn't look away. And then something shifted. The man looked up, and for the briefest moment, our eyes met. He froze. For a split second, I saw the recognition in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by something else. Panic. He immediately turned to Lucia, whispering something in her ear. She looked up, scanning the room, and that's when I quickly ducked behind my menu. I could feel my heart thumping in my chest, my whole body tense. I was exposed, but I couldn't leave. Not without knowing more. A few minutes later, they stood up and walked out. I waited a moment to make sure they were gone, and then, with shaking hands, I stood up, grabbed my things, and walked out after them. I wasn't sure what I was going to do once I found them, but I knew I had to follow. I kept my distance, watching them from across the street. They didn't seem to notice me. They didn't seem to care. They were lost in their own little world, unaware that I was right there, just a few feet away, watching the life I thought was mine slip away into the hands of another man. At that moment, something in me broke. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I wasn't even sad. I just felt empty. Hollow. Like I had been walking through life with blinders on, and now that they were off, I could see everything in its ugly, raw reality. The man she had been seeing wasn't just some fling. He was something more. And I knew it was only a matter of time before the whole facade came crashing down. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the scene at the coffee shop in my mind, trying to piece together the parts of the story I didn't know. Who was this man? How long had it been going on? Was it just physical, or was there more to it? The questions piled up, and I couldn't escape them. I had to know more. But I also knew that the more I uncovered, the more it would hurt. And part of me wasn't sure I was ready for that. But I had come this far. I couldn't turn back now. I needed answers. And I was going to get them. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. Part of me wanted to burst into the house and demand the truth. But the other part of me, the part that had been living with Lucia for years, told me to hold back. I had seen the man, yes. But that wasn't enough. I needed more than just glimpses and assumptions. I needed the truth, every detail. I needed to understand how deep this betrayal ran before I made a mistake I couldn't take back. So I waited. The next day, I was quiet, too quiet. I could feel it, the tension in the air, as if Lucia knew something was off but was too scared to address it. I decided to play the part of the oblivious husband for a while longer. When she came home from work, she acted normal. Too normal. She was cheerful, asking me about my day, pretending everything was fine, but I could see through it. I saw the little cracks in her facade, the way she wouldn't meet my eyes for too long, the way her smile didn't reach her eyes. She was trying too hard. I wasn't sure if she knew I knew, but something told me she was starting to realize that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I didn't speak about the coffee shop incident right away. Instead, I kept my distance, watched her, observed her every move, every text message, every time she stepped out of the room with her phone in hand. The next day, she left for work early. It was a Saturday, and I had the whole day to myself. I decided to take a step I had been avoiding. I needed to know who this man was. I couldn't just keep following her around like a shadow. I went to the coffee shop where I had seen them together, hoping to find some sort of clue. As soon as I walked in, I scanned the room. It wasn't hard to remember the layout. I had been there countless times, picking up coffee on weekends, waiting for her to finish her shift. This time, though, I wasn't there for a casual visit. I was there for answers. I ordered a coffee and sat at the table closest to where Lucia had been sitting. I glanced around, my mind racing. Would I find something? A hint of a name? A piece of their conversation that I hadn't heard? Or would I leave with nothing but more questions? I watched the barista make the drinks, the regulars chatting amongst themselves, but there was no sign of Lucia. No sign of the man. They were gone. My heart sank a little, but then I saw it. A small slip of paper, crumpled up, tucked under the table where they had been sitting. It wasn't much, but it was something. I reached down and pulled it out carefully, unfolding the paper. My hands trembled as I read the words written on it. Meet me tonight. The usual place. I can't wait to see you again. It was a simple note, nothing that would raise suspicion in anyone else's hands. But in mine, it was like a bombshell. The usual place. I knew immediately what that meant. There was a specific park bench where Lucia and I had often gone for walks when we were first dating. It wasn't far from the coffee shop. It had always been a place for us, until recently. I didn't waste any time. I folded the note back up, shoved it into my pocket, and walked out of the coffee shop. I knew exactly where I needed to go. By the time the sun began to set, I was standing by that bench, watching the shadows stretch long across the park. It wasn't busy, just a few joggers and families walking their dogs. My breath was shallow, the anticipation thick in the air. Was this the place where she would meet him again? Was he already here? My heart pounded as I waited, but no one showed up. Minutes stretched into an hour. No one. Maybe she wasn't coming after all. Maybe it was just a stupid note, a last-ditch effort to get me off her back. I thought about leaving, but then I heard it. A car pulling up, the sound of tires against gravel. My head snapped around, and there, pulling into the small lot near the park, was Lucia's car. I couldn't move. I stayed where I was, hidden in the shadows. And then, as if it was scripted, I saw him. The man from the coffee shop. The one who had been with her. He walked toward the park, his steps casual, but there was no mistaking the way he looked at her when he saw her standing there, waiting for him. The sick feeling in my stomach returned, stronger this time. I wanted to shout, to run over and confront them both. But I couldn't. I wasn't ready. I needed to know more. I needed to understand their relationship completely before I made the mistake of confronting them. I stayed hidden, watching them as they exchanged a quick kiss, a kiss that was too familiar. Too intimate. It was as if they had been together forever, and I was the one who didn't belong. They sat down on the bench, and I could hear their conversation, though I couldn't make out all the words. But I didn't need to hear the details to know what was going on. This was more than just a fling. It was an affair, and I wasn't part of it. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I had the proof. I had seen it with my own eyes. And as I watched them laugh and talk, oblivious to the fact that I was watching them, I realized I wasn't the man I used to be. The man who would let things slide. The man who would forgive and forget. I wasn't that man anymore. And it was time for Lucia to realize that. I couldn't sleep that night. It was as if the world had tilted on its axis, and I was the only one who could feel it. The cold air from the open window made me shiver, but the chill in my bones wasn't from the weather. It was the overwhelming realization of what I had seen, what I had learned. Lucia's affair wasn't just a betrayal. It was a fracture in everything I thought I knew about my life. I lay there in bed, staring at the ceiling, hearing nothing but the faint ticking of the clock in the hallway. I didn't know how long I stayed there, but when I finally sat up, the decision was made. I couldn't keep playing this waiting game. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to get them by hiding in the shadows anymore. The next morning, Lucia was her usual self, or at least she tried to be. She kissed me good morning, asked if I slept well, and casually mentioned how she had a full day ahead. But I knew. I knew the way she was avoiding my gaze, the nervous energy around her. She wasn't fooling me anymore. I didn't respond immediately, trying to keep my composure. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice light, almost too light. "Yeah," I replied, looking directly at her. "Just a little tired, that's all." I could see her hesitate, like she was wondering if I knew, if I was going to say something. But she didn't push it. Instead, she picked up her bag and headed for the door. I watched her leave, feeling like a stranger in my own home. I wasn't sure who she was anymore, and I wasn't sure who I was becoming in response. The day dragged on. I went to work, kept my head down, and tried to avoid the constant buzzing in my mind. But as soon as I came home, I knew it was time. Time to confront her. Lucia was already there, sitting at the kitchen table, going over some papers. She looked up when I entered, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes. Guilt, maybe? I couldn't tell. I sat down across from her, not bothering to beat around the bush. I had waited long enough. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady but sharp. Her face paled, and for a second, I thought she was going to backpedal, deny everything. But she didn't. She simply nodded. "What's this really about, Simon?" she asked, her tone quiet. "Why do you look like you've seen a ghost?" "You know exactly why," I replied. "I know what's been going on, Lucia. I know about him." Her eyes flickered, but she didn't say anything. She didn't even try to lie. She just sat there, frozen. That moment of silence felt like hours, and I could almost hear the pounding of my heart in my ears. "I saw you both last night," I continued, my voice calm despite the storm raging inside me. "At the park. I saw you with him. Don't even try to deny it." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her hands were trembling slightly, but she still didn't speak. The silence stretched on, thicker than any words she could have said. I pushed on, needing to hear it from her. "How long, Lucia? How long has this been going on?" She exhaled slowly, like she was preparing herself for something she couldn't avoid any longer. "A few months," she said softly. "It started, innocently enough. But it just grew. I never meant for it to hurt you." I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. Months? She had been seeing him for months? Every time I thought I had a grip on the situation, she pulled it further away from me. "Who is he?" I asked, trying to keep my voice from cracking. "What does he mean to you?" Lucia looked down at her hands, her face a mask of regret. "His name is David. I met him through work. He's different. And I know I've been selfish. I didn't want to hurt you, but I didn't know how to stop it. It just happened." David. The name felt like a knife to my chest. I didn't know this man. I had never met him, but in that moment, I hated him with every fiber of my being. He had taken something that wasn't his, something that had belonged to me. My wife, my life, my trust. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice now barely above a whisper. "Why didn't you come to me?" Lucia's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't want to hurt you, Simon. You're the last person I wanted to disappoint. But I was too afraid to face the truth. I thought I could handle it, that it wouldn't affect us. But it did, and now it's too late." The room felt suffocating. The silence between us was deafening. I had so many questions, but none of them seemed to matter now. I had the answer I needed. The only question left was whether I could ever forgive her, whether I could ever look at her the same way again. For a long time, I didn't say anything. I just stared at her, trying to process the words, trying to make sense of the world that had just been torn apart. And in that silence, I realized something. The life I had built with Lucia was over. No matter how much I wanted to pretend it wasn't, no matter how hard I tried to hold on, the truth was clear. We had reached the point of no return. I didn't know how to respond. The words hung in the air, heavy and thick, each one suffocating what little hope I had left. Months. She'd been seeing him for months, and I had been blind to it. Every smile, every affectionate gesture, all of it had been a lie. I stood up from the table, pacing back and forth. My mind was a whirlwind, thoughts colliding with each other, none of them making sense. The trust one had placed in her was shattered beyond repair. I had given her everything, my love, my loyalty, my trust, and she had handed it all over to someone else. Lucia sat there, her eyes downcast, waiting for me to react, to say something, anything. but I didn't have the words. What could I possibly say? I never wanted it to come to this, she said softly, her voice breaking. I thought I could handle both of you, but I couldn't. I was selfish, Simon. I never meant to hurt you. The words felt hollow. They didn't change anything. They didn't undo the betrayal, the lies, the deceit. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said finally, my voice rough, strained. You've taken everything from me. You've destroyed what we had. The silence that followed was unbearable. It was as if the world outside had stopped moving. I never thought it would get this far, Lucia whispered, her voice cracking. But now I don't know what to do. I love you, Simon, but I've hurt you too much. Her words echoed in my mind, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of something, regret, maybe, but it was quickly drowned out by the anger that had been building inside me since I first discovered the truth. You love me, I spat out, incredulous. You love me, and yet you've been lying to my face for months? You've been seeing him behind my back, and now you expect me to believe that you still love me? Lucia's face crumpled, and she burst into tears. But I didn't feel sorry for her. I couldn't. I walked out of the kitchen, pacing again. This time, I went to the living room, my mind racing. There was so much I wanted to say, so much I wanted to scream. But nothing felt right. The anger inside me was building, but it was mixed with something else, hurt. Deep, gut-wrenching hurt. Why him? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. What did he have that I didn't? Was I not enough for you? She didn't answer immediately, and when she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. He made me feel wanted. In a way I haven't felt in years. That sentence cut through me like a knife. Wanted. That was it. All the love, all the commitment I had given her, it didn't matter. She had needed something else, something I couldn't give her. I turned away from her, walking toward the door. I needed space. I needed to think, to process everything that was happening. Simon, please. Lucia's voice broke through my thoughts. Don't leave like this. We can fix this. We can try to make it work. I paused at the door, my hand on the handle. My heart was torn in two. Part of me wanted to stay, to try to fix everything. But the other part of me knew it was too late. She had already broken me, and I didn't think I could ever put myself back together again. I don't think I can ever trust you again, I said quietly, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. And I don't think I can live in this lie any longer. Without another word, I left. The door clicked shut behind me, but I didn't look back. As I stepped out into the night, I realized that something had shifted permanently. The life I had built with Lucia, the love I thought was unbreakable, was gone, and I wasn't sure if I could ever get it back. The night air hit me like a slap to the face. It was cold, biting, but I didn't care. I needed the clarity that came with space, with distance from her, from everything that had shattered between us. My mind felt like it was running 1,000,000 miles per minute, but I couldn't seem to catch up with it. Every step I took felt heavier, like I was dragging the weight of everything I had lost behind me. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay there, not in that house, not with her. I kept walking, past the streetlights that flickered above, the empty sidewalks, the houses that all looked the same. I tried to process what had happened, but it was like trying to put together a puzzle with pieces that didn't fit. The man she had been seeing, the lies, the months of deceit. It felt like it had all been building up to this moment. And yet, it felt like a dream, something so far from reality that I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I ended up at the park, the one Lucia and I used to walk through on warm afternoons, laughing at nothing, just enjoying each other's company. I hadn't been back here since things started to change between us. It seemed like the perfect place to clear my head, but as I walked through the dimly lit paths, I realized it was far from perfect. Every corner, every bench held a memory of us, of who we had been. And now, all of it felt tainted. Sitting on one of the benches, I pulled out my phone and looked at the time. It was late. I hadn't even thought about what I would do the next day. The thought of going back to the house, of facing Lucia again, was overwhelming. I couldn't even begin to imagine what she would say, what she would ask of me. Could I forgive her? Could we ever go back to what we were? My phone buzzed in my hand, pulling me from my thoughts. It was a message from her. I had almost forgotten about it in the chaos of the evening. My heart sank as I opened it, but I couldn't help myself. Please come back, Simon. I'm so sorry. I don't want to lose you. I stared at the screen, reading the words over and over again. Part of me wanted to throw the phone across the park, to ignore her completely. She had lied. She had betrayed me in a way I couldn't even comprehend. But the other part of me, the part that still loved her, wanted to believe that somehow we could fix it, that somehow we could find our way back to each other. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I put the phone back in my pocket and leaned back against the bench, closing my eyes. I thought about the last few years, the good times, the laughter, the small moments that made me fall in love with her. And then, I thought about everything that had happened since. The lies, the deception, the betrayal. I couldn't pretend it didn't hurt. The idea that she had been sharing herself with someone else, in every way that mattered, was a pain I didn't know how to bear. It felt like a betrayal of everything I had given her, everything I had trusted her with. But I also couldn't shake the thought that maybe I wasn't the only one who had been hurt in all of this. Maybe she was just as lost as I was, just as confused about where we had gone wrong. Was this affair just a symptom of a larger problem? Had I been blind to the cracks in our relationship all this time? My phone buzzed again, and this time, it wasn't just a message. It was a call. Her name lit up the screen, and I felt my chest tighten. I didn't pick up. I couldn't. Not yet. The truth was, I wasn't ready to face her. Not yet. Not when I still wasn't sure what I wanted, or what I was supposed to do. I couldn't go back to her like nothing had changed. But I also couldn't walk away without knowing if there was any chance, any at all, that we could fix this. The call ended, and I was left with nothing but silence again, broken only by the soft rustling of the leaves in the wind. What now? That was the question I couldn't answer. I didn't know if I could forgive her. I didn't know if we could ever find our way back to who we once were. But what I did know was that, whatever happened, nothing would ever be the same. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, my mind raced. The images of Lucia and him flashing behind my eyelids. The betrayal stung like a fresh wound, raw and bleeding. And yet, despite all of it, something in me still wanted to hold on, not to the lie, but to the person I had loved so deeply. The woman I had married. The woman I had shared my life with. By morning, I had made a decision. It wasn't a perfect one, and I wasn't sure how it would play out, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't move forward without confronting the truth. I needed closure, not just for me, but for us. I had to talk to her, really talk, not just scream or cry or say things I might regret. I needed to understand if there was any chance, any possibility, that we could rebuild what had been broken. I went home. The house felt different when I walked through the door. Quiet. Tense. Lucia was sitting on the couch, her eyes swollen from crying. She didn't look up when I entered. She didn't need to. I could feel her regret, her guilt in the air, heavy and suffocating. "I'm here," I said, my voice softer than I expected. She lifted her head slowly, her eyes meeting mine with a mixture of hope and fear. "Simon, I don't know how to fix this," she said, her voice trembling. "You can't fix it overnight," I replied, sitting down beside her. "But maybe we can try. If you're willing to fight for us, for what we had, I'm willing to try too." Her face softened, tears filling her eyes once more, but this time, there was something else in her gaze, sincerity. And for the first time in a long time, I saw a glimpse of the woman I had fallen in love with. "I don't deserve you, Simon. I betrayed you in ways I can never take back. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn your trust again," she said, her voice steady now, determined. "I love you, and I never stopped. I was just lost. But I know I can't keep running from the mess I've made. I'll work for us, for you. I'll do the work if you'll let me." I took a deep breath. The hurt was still there, and I knew it wouldn't disappear in a day, maybe not even in a year. But I had to admit, part of me wanted to believe in her words. Part of me still loved her, still wanted to try. "I'm not sure I can forgive you right away," I said quietly, my hand finding hers. "But I can't give up on us either. We'll take it one step at a time, one day at a time." She nodded, squeezing my hand tightly, her eyes filled with both relief and uncertainty. And in that moment, I knew we weren't out of the woods yet. There was a long road ahead, a difficult one, but we weren't giving up. We would work through this, together, slowly, surely, piece by piece. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew that for the first time in months, I was choosing to believe in the possibility of something better, something real. Maybe it wasn't about forgetting the past. Maybe it was about learning from it, growing from it. And as Lucia and I sat there together, not knowing exactly how the rest of our story would unfold, I felt a small flicker of hope ignite within me. It wasn't over. Not yet. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough.